It is truly amazing how fast ponies revert back to the three tribes mentality. Though my heart goes out to Big Mac and Sugar Belle the most. Look at how Big Mac is standing with his wife, who must feel very threatened by this crowd. Although, does this mean that all the unicorns and Pegasi left Ponyville for Canterlot and Cloudsdale? Ponyville Pride just became the greatest casualty in this conflict.
Definitely. Anyway, at the Crystal Empire, the rest of the girls find Twilight in her darkest hour, and this is probably the most emotional and powerful part of this whole episode. Twilight succumbing to her anxious doom and gloom state feels organic here. Most of her friends' magic is drained, Canterlot Castle is destroyed, Equestria's greatest threats strut around unopposed, the aforementioned hate between all the pony races, and now the Wendigos are back. And to top it all off, the main six successes at defending Equestria from Sombra was all a lie. All their accomplishments invalidated by Discord's plan. And seeing Twilight like this was rather depressing, with the world basically against her.
Ever since Celestia told me I was taking over, I've been gaining confidence. Then I find out it's all a lie. Equestria's been falling apart around us and I didn't even notice. What kind of princess does that make me? I'm scared.
The dialogue is very well crafted here, where it takes a fair amount of convincing to bring Twilight out of her rut, and when it finally happens, it feels realistic and not forced at all, and is another great moral. In life, there are times where anything you do can feel impossible and you lose all faith. And even if you yourself don't believe something can succeed, sometimes just the will and devotion from your friends can help you back on the path.
I also think this validates Applejack's assertion back in Leap of Faith.
Believing in something can help you do amazing things, but if that belief is based on a lie, eventually it's gonna lead to real trouble.
Everything Twilight accomplished was real, but it was based on Discord's deception. It's difficult to separate truth and deception in that scenario, so Twilight doubts her own ability. Plus, it doesn't help that the Wendigos make a return, which is where I'd like to circle back to the question about Grogar's history. MasterCode said...
So in the end, everything we knew of Grogar in this Season 9 opener could have just been one big fabrication.
Up until now, the Wendigos, like Grogar, were figures of legend. They embodied an idea about disharmony and conflict. They didn't have to be real to get the point across. So in a weird way, seeing them real and tangible, a validation that the story was 100% accurate, might actually be more disappointing than Grogar being Discord. Couple this with other fictions made truth, like Daring Do, and I'm starting to think that Equestria doesn't have any actual myths or legend. Give it enough time and everything gets proven true. The same might be true for what they said about Grogar. How about you?
That's not only the wrong game, that's the wrong century!
Regardless, I worry for the ponies' collective imaginations. They sit on a throne of actual truths?
Huh, that's a new one.
What are we gonna do, Twilight? The same thing we do every time, Pinky. Try to save the world.
Now with the main six rejuvenated, it's time to head out to Canterlot for the sights of the final battle, and what can I say about this whole sequence other than it's pure awesome. The action is frenetic and over the top, every pony contributes in getting their own cool or funny moment using their wits and strengths.
Oh, but no cherry chimichanga! Thanks for playing!
There's lots of weight behind every single attack as mentioned before. It even gets dark at one point.
Enough! Or the dragon's wings get plucked.
You know, for kids!
Personally, I think Chrysalis is channeling all the rage of the flies whose wings have been plucked by sadistic children. Payback's a bitch, and so is she.
I hear that, but it looks like the bad guys have the upper hoof and perform their super mega ultra kamehameha attack!
What happened? Can I open my eyes?
This is the construct. It's our loading program.
No, what happens next has actual personality, unlike Neo.
Hey-oh!
But oh, how I have longed for this scene. 9 seasons we've witnessed the ponies of Equestria relying on someone else to save them. Despite Twilight's assertion that ponies can accomplish anything while working together.
If we're patient and diligent, and as always, with good friendship and teamwork, ponies can accomplish anything.
The majority of the populace has been very passive. This is where you get to see that Twilight's impact on the culture hasn't just been lip service. Thanks to the Student 6, every being, including those with voice actors that we can't afford, is here to help, which can only mean...
Assemble.
Objection!
Oh, mama! My clip is more relevant.
Since when does the host of After the Fact care about relevancy?
We're using the Avengers.
Lord of the Rings trilogy!
Endgame!
Two Towers!
Oh, where you want to go against? Here we go.
He's got horses. It makes more sense than Endgame. Lord of the Rings had horses going downhill. Okay, I'm going to downhill. You're ugly. Two Towers. You're fool.
Firebrand would be so proud.
I suddenly have a craving for fried chicken, but I digress. Like I said, I cannot convey to you how much this site is absolutely amazing. Every major supporting character the show has ever had appears here, even Tempest Shadow wearing her attire from the Tempest Tales comic, and it's so freaking awesome! It's pure spectacle, seeing all the races around Equestria united under the banner of friendship to quell this threat, from the dragons to yaks, hippogriffs, griffins, Kirin, changelings, the Wonderbolts.
Dragonzord! Mastodon! Tyrannosaurus!
The Professor and Marianne.
Ah, the power of networking. As far as the Young Six goes, this event is pretty much the culmination of all their friendship lessons. Not only have they learned friendship amongst each other, but now they've directly applied it to their individual races, bringing everyone together, becoming the next major paragons of friendship after the main six. School of Friendship, complete success.
Villains, epic fail. Which now leads to the most controversial part of this story.
I can transform the cosmos so everything is made of icing!
No, that part's just terrifying. I'm talking about the punishment for the now depowered triad. When we saw all three of them turn to stone, I remember so many folks voicing objection that Cozy Glow had shared in the punishment. Petrifying a child, how horrible! Yet I'm on the opposite view. Cozy wasn't ignorant of her actions, possessed by another power, not even driven mad by the bell. She knew what she was doing and delighted in it. Plus, I'm not entirely sure she is a foal. I regret we'll likely never know her origin or how she came to be this way, but given her several attempts at murder and assault, I'm not losing sleep over her punishment.
Oh, I agree all the way. It's a total fitting and warranted punishment. The three have been given numerous opportunities to reform and have balked every time, so it's understandable that keeping them in stone for eternity, or at least the near future, is the only way to guarantee they won't cause trouble in the future. Maybe one day they'll try again like with Discord, but that won't be anytime soon.
Yet there is one punishment that has been omitted, and I think that's a bad message. Discord is suddenly back in everyone's good graces, and shows that he can turn others to stone. I get that his earlier freeing Starlight contributed towards fixing the problem, and his inclusion in all this shows that he is still part of the community. Yet of all the wronged parties involved here, I think we've all overlooked one fact. These three made a series of choices that resulted in this punishment, and so I still think it's warranted. But that chain of events started with Discord's interference. He liberated T-Rex and Cozy from their imprisonment and Fish Chrysalis from seclusion. In essence, he interfered with the reformation process. This is dangerous territory as we enter a what-if domain, but we'll never know if any of these characters might have realized their errors and changed, because Discord brought them together. Just as the wrong kind of friend can reinforce our worst aspects, these three pushed one another to greater aggression, betrayal, and overall tyranny. I don't think they could have gotten this far if kept separate, and that is still on Discord. I'm not saying that he should be turned to stone as well, but if he bears some of the responsibility for this event, he should have a role in the aftermath. Perhaps it's on him to see if he can encourage them to reform over time. They don't have to be stoned forever.
Yeah, Discord basically got off scot-free for nearly bringing Equestria to ashes. And the fact that it's never brought up again feels kind of like a crucial missing element. You can't just ignore something like that. How about this? A good punishment would have actually been not returning his chaos magic, whether it be long-lasting or permanent, would finally maybe drill it into that thick skull of his. As is, it's not story-breaking, but definitely a glaring element that was left to be addressed.
I know the proper punishment. No tea with Fluttershy for a year.
Objection! That's too harsh!
I am the law.
Hey, there's only room for one judge around here, and that's me.
I knew you'd say that. Long Walk approved.
What?
The law.
Well then, this is highly irregular. Oh, hello. I'll have to retrieve him. I'll do it later. So, on to the final episode. Right off the bat, we see the fruits of every creature's labor, spreading the friendship everywhere, with every race casually interacting with each other in Canterlot, just showing how peace and prosperity now thrives in Equestria. Thus, we come across, whoa, Spike Bro, you've been working out. I love his adult design, making him buff, but still welcoming. And of course, Twilight looks amazing in her new elegant alicorn form. From her slender, taller stature, flowing starry mane, those superb flanks. I really like her mane.
What were you saying about butt fixations?
Shut up! Anyway, we are also introduced to Lusterdon, Twilight's new protege, who has a bit of a dilemma.
I want to accomplish as much as you have someday. Friendship looks like more of a distraction than anything else, and ultimately, a waste of time.
What?
Twilight, of course, takes this rather well.
If friendships ultimately fade, why even make them in the first place? You know what, Luster Dawn? You're right.
Let me just clarify something. You are a bitch that likes bananas, right? Okay, that's great, because you're about to go bananas on the moon! Bitch!
Okay, that doesn't happen. I will say though, these opening scenes with Twilight and Luster interacting shows why she has become the wise and regal ruler she is today. As Luster is telling her that friendship is basically a waste of time, directly to the once Princess of Friendship's face, Twilight reacts with every accusation about friendship with a stoic demeanor. She doesn't come out and say, "No, you're wrong," or "Your manner of thinking is illogical." Instead, she listens to every point in a calm manner to fully understand her point of view. No way at all judging her. She doesn't want to talk down to any pony, and when she has all the information, she can offer sage advice, much like how Celestia was a mentor to her. We even got to see some nice little maturity development for Spike, with him saying he's beyond comic books since he's getting older. Being appointed royal advisor means a lot to him, and he wants to take it seriously by becoming a much more responsible dragon.
Though I maintain you can still be mature and responsible while also enjoying a comic. I've seen some folks speculate that Luster Dawn is Sunburst and Starlight's child, but I don't think that makes sense. Given how much she'd see a friendship in both the school and under Twilight's care, it's hard to believe that she'd view such things as a waste of time. Still, she's a likable character. Brutally practical rather than haughty. A nice reflection of what Twilight used to be. But what really cheeses me off is Twilight's...
Oh, here we go.
necklace.
What?
Look at that sharpness. Look at this fashionable homicide just waiting to happen. A single sharpened point jutting upwards, aimed at Her Highness. The moment she cranes her neck downwards, instant punctured throat. How could Rarity allow such a danger to her bestest bud?
Okay, moving on.
No! I have several more rantings lined up. I have a book coming out next week. Your necklace is bad, and you should feel bad too. Chapter 1. Why is it monochrome?
2 hours later.
And that's why gems are your best friends, unless they are aliens. Chapter 2.
Objection! Moving on! Around season 4 or 5, I predicted that the final episode and moral would focus on either some or all of the main 6 leaving Ponyville to live their dream jobs throughout Equestria, like Rainbow Dash and the Wonderbolts, or Twilight inevitably becoming the ruler or co-ruler of Equestria. Seems I wasn't that far off. Of all the morals and lessons this show has put forth, I gotta say, this is probably the most relatable one, in that every person growing up in life has had the displeasure of losing a friendship or worried it may fade into obscurity.
We will always be friends forever, won't we? Yeah, forever.
Friendship is a difficult road. Twilight herself went from non-social bookworm to understanding friendship throughout many trials and tribulations over the years, where at times it seemed like her relationship with the rest of the main 6 would reach the end of its rope. Yet every time, despite any arguments and differences in beliefs, they all have stuck together. Twilight stayed the course through those rough times because she saw the value and rewards in maintaining these friendships. And now the greatest threat to their relationship isn't some all-powerful being or catastrophic event, but simply that Twilight would now be living in Canterlot away from all her friends. Which again makes the moral so powerful because it's grounded in reality, an inevitable event everyone eventually goes through.
I'm literally moving away from you and it's terrifying.
What if we don't see each other?
What if we don't talk as much?
What if we don't stay friends?
But knowing you're all as upset as I am actually makes me less worried.
Twilight accuses the girls of ignoring the problem, but we see that they've just tried to put on a brave face, which is what most would do in such a situation. But they do eventually come out and express their feelings of sorrow. Losing a friend you've cherished so long is scary, thinking that this could be one of the last times you will ever see that friend again. But if you've put in the effort, this isn't a goodbye, but more so, a see you later. It's bittersweet for sure, but as long as you've had a good lasting relationship and good contacts with someone, you will be friends forever.
I guess this is why they didn't choose to have Scootaloo leave Ponyville back in The Last Crusade. However, there is something artificial about this whole epilogue, mostly involving the students. I think the writers were in a pickle. They wanted to follow up on as many characters as possible, such as showing how both Flurry Heart and the Crystal Empire survived her adolescence, but they were limited to Canterlot and Ponyville's venues. Thus, we have to keep certain characters close, even though that might not make the most sense. For example, I can totally buy that Rarity would open shops in places like Yak-Yakistan, so why does Yona have to manage a shop in Ponyville? Answer, because we need her there for the final song. It surprised me that Gallus was the only one who stepped beyond Ponyville, and even then he had a role that kept him in immediate view. I would like to think the Student 6 would go back to their respective homes and encourage further change, leading to the greater diversity we see in this flash forward. Though I am curious about that giant creature the Student 6 seem to be confronting in that one pane.
Well, onto the final song sequence of the series, and it's here where we finally come full circle from the beginning of the series. We began with Celestia sending Twilight to Ponyville to learn the magic of friendship, and now she in turn sends Luster to the very same town that made her the mayor she is, now continuing the tradition. The song How the Magic of Friendship Grows is a bittersweet yet beautiful ballad that's basically a recap and homage of the main six's journey of friendship and how it'll always continue on, even on to the next generation.
This is where the magic happens.
Before the show concludes, it's so cool we get to see one last tour of Ponyville and a school of friendship seeing how things have changed. I love the imagery of the final silhouette showing every pony that each of the main six have helped individually, leading to Luster going off on her own, and finally concluding the story as we started by closing the book on this adventure. A heartfelt and perfect way to end the series.
How the magic of friendship grows.
Though it doesn't actually end the story. One of the misconceptions of Happily Ever After is this idea that the end of our witnessing means the end of conflict. Yet as Twilight pointed out, there will always be darkness in those who confront it. The big takeaway from this final episode isn't that everything is perfect or that all conflict is resolved. Rather, the characters know that they can face anything that happens together, and their lessons will carry forward to new generations. That's the big difference between trinities like the Pillars, Main Six, and Students versus the Triad. The Trinity is always building something new and letting the future take shape. Villains like the Triad want to freeze a moment in time where they're in control and fear its loss. One builds the future, one denies it. Though as positive and fun as this is to see, I view this future episode as a what if. Even Twilight's coronation.
But we see the coronation.
But we see it as a flashback, which is the show's future, which means that it hasn't happened, but it might as they recall. But if they're not real, then it's not real, because none of this is real, even though the impact on us is very real. So if it's not yet happened, but has happened to these not happenings, then it might happen or it might not happen. But whatever happens, happens. Probably better I not get caught here. I'll just show myself out.
Hello? Still out here? I'm cold and alone. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to subscribe to both me and that Hippogriff for more MLP goodness.